Okay, so had you followed or known about Freddie Gray or just police violence in general that much before the uprising in Baltimore started?
I didn't know anything about Freddie Gray, but a little bit about police violence in general, just because oh gosh, Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri happened just before Freddie Gray, and I had been traveling to Kansas City, Missouri at that time, and I remember thinking nothing like that would ever happen in Baltimore, and then like 2 or 3 months later, Freddie Gray happened. Um, but I didn't know anything about Freddie Gray up until that time.
What were your thoughts watching the news coverage of the events in Baltimore as they went on?
I guess at first surprised that it happened in Baltimore, because like I just said, I never thought anything like that would actually ever happen in Baltimore. But mostly I was disappointed that it happened in Baltimore, that the police brutality could escalate to that.
And what was your reaction when downtown Baltimore erupted into like destruction and people started looting things and just destroying property?
Well, I think at first I was relieved because we had just moved to Towson from downtown Baltimore, so I can kind of remember thinking I was glad we didn't live down there at that point in time. But sad, I mean, to see the city erupt like that, and for people's neighborhoods, the poorest people in the city, for resources in their neighborhoods to be destroyed by the violence, I think was one of the saddest things.
And what was your reaction when I asked you to go to a march?
I was glad that you asked. I knew that you and your friends had tried to find the march on Towson University's campus like within the last week, and couldn't find it, and you weren't too happy about that. So when you asked to go to the one downtown, I was glad you wanted to go, and I was more than happy to take you.
What did you expect and how did it differ from what was really there once we got downtown?
I had no idea what to expect. I just remember you said that it was starting at the Inner Harbor. Other than that, I had no idea what we were getting into, and so once we got there, initially I thought it wasn't going to be much of anything. We were at the starting point at the Inner Harbor, and there were only, I don't know if you remember, maybe a few dozen people there. But what surprised me is that they were very well organized. People had extra protest signs. Like, we went with nothing. I think all of us had signs because people made extras and were handing them out. And then it became evident as we started walking that people all over the city knew it was happening, because as we walked, more and more and more people just kept joining the cause till the streets were kind of packed. And I don't know how many people were there, but hundreds and hundreds of people ended up in the march that went all the way, I think, to Sandtown. We kind of bailed out before we got all the way to Sandtown, but no, it's very well organized and peaceful.
Had you ever been to a march or any type of protest before?
Before Freddie Gray, no. I think once when I was in college, there was a protest for Bush going to the Iraq War that was on campus, and I kind of went and stood and listened, but I didn't go there on purpose. I just kind of happened upon it as I was walking across campus.
Did going to the march change your perspective on the situation at all?
I don't know if it did on the actual situation, because we're pretty liberal and left leaning in the Black Lives Matter. I think I was already that was already my thought stream before we went to the march. So I don't know if it really changed my perspective, but on that specific item, but it definitely did open up the world of protests and going to marches and of being involved.
And what do you remember most about the event? About being there and just...
I don't know. Remember most.
What stood out to you the most?
I guess, just like I said before, how well organized it was, how enthusiastic people were, how peaceful it was. It was just marching and chanting like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and against police brutality. The whole thing was a great experience, and I'm glad that you guys wanted to go.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.